have both acute and chronic health effects depending on the quantity and the ways in which a person is exposed. So the diagram on the right-hand side of the slide shows a farmer applying pesticides to a site, and that farmer could be exposed themselves to the pesticides that they are applying, and also the pesticides going into the soil, where it can affect the crops and the plants growing on that soil, as well as affecting the wider environment, such as water bodies. So it's important to recognize that pesticides are important, and we need pesticides in the face of food shortages. But some of these pesticides, particularly older pesticides, can remain in soil for years. These are known as persistent organic pollutants, or POPs. And many of these pesticide chemicals have been banned, or there are bans in place for their agricultural use. For example, one of the most famous examples is DDT, which was first brought to attention by Rachel Carson in her famous book, Silent Spring. But in developed countries, we still see the use of many of these harmful pesticides for the reason of increasing for tackling food shortages. And so we are looking at contaminated environments with these pesticides and having a toxic effect on humans, either through direct exposure or through the food and the residues that are on the food and the pesticides that are incorporated into the food. So just to finish, agricultural soil pollution is a significant concern for food safety, and we need clear and effective communication about the risks of contaminant exposure through food. So we need to raise farmer awareness and encourage safer choices to protect soils and to protect our food security or food safety. And we need global collaboration to do this. So international collaboration is necessary to address this trans boundary issue of soil pollution. So in this meeting today, we have some objectives. Those objectives are to understand which soil pollution indicators should be integrated into the Global Health Observatory of the WHO, to raise awareness of the One Health approach, focusing on the link between soil pollutants and food safety. And then the third objective is to learn about the Global Soil Doctors Program to help develop training material on soil pollution for farmers, communities to use it next year, 2024. And we'll talk more about that in the second part of this meeting. Okay, thank you all. Thank you very much.
David, thank you very much for this concise and informative presentation about the objectives and once again highlighting the need to talk about soil pollution and different contaminants. I think we're going to have a very enriched discussion. And talking about Global Health Observatory and WHO, I just want to confirm to all participants that we're not alone. We've been in touch already with the Joint Research Center, the GRC, who has already have the work on soil pollution, and they're also willing to collaborate and liaise with us, with INSOP team, and together propose the framework to approach WHO and talk about which soil pollution indicators we need to promote and perhaps include in a global health observatory. So we already have this partnership with the GRC, but also perhaps other FAO divisions will be interested in joining us in this activity. And therefore, I think because we're all talking about food safety and security, I think involving food systems and food safety division from FAO is quite important. We have a very good representative from that division here joining us, Kia Meherjee. Good afternoon, Kia. I see you're connected. Kia, we're looking forward to learn more about the food safety and systems and the work that you're doing at the division. And without any hesitation, giving the floor to you to present your work. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, just give me a moment as I get it set up.
Okay, well, already can see your screen. Very beautiful swan in the lake.
Let me know if you can
Okay.
see my
Yes,
starting slide.
we can see the presentation. Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. I am Kaya Mukherjee. I am a food safety consultant, and I work at the Food Systems and Food Safety Division of FAO. And I will talk very briefly about some of the work that we are doing within that division, which is called ESF. Right. So the Food Systems and Food Safety Division provides sort of a strategic leadership for FAO's support to member states in the development of more sustainable agri-food systems. And we bringing together FAO's long-standing experience and capacities in strengthening systems of food safety and quality control with this technical support to member states in the areas of value chain development, investment, agro-industry, and agribusiness enterprise development, urban food systems, food loss and waste. So there are multiple areas that we are working in. So the division essentially integrates and extends agri-food system support across the organization. The division consists of two units, the Agri-Food Systems Transformation Unit and the Food Safety Unit. I belong to the Food Safety Unit. The Food Systems Transformation Unit, it supports governments in building inclusive, efficient, resilient, sustainable agri-food systems, working very closely with governments, key actors such as the private sector, civil society organizations, etc. Some of the key activities that they do are listed here. In terms of food safety, it's a very complex process because, as we're aware, it really starts on the farm and then ends with the consumer. And FAO is the only international organization that oversees all aspects of the food chain. So we really provide a very unique 360-degree view of food safety. And some of our key activities are also listed here. And for the purpose of today's talk and just keeping in line with the timing that we have, I'm going to focus on these two specific areas. The first one is science-based food safety governance and decisions. So through complementary mandates, FAO, we work very closely with WHO. We cover a range of issues to support global food safety governance and decisions to protect consumer health and facilitate international trade. WHO typically provides basically oversees and maintains very strong relations with the public health sector, as opposed to us. We tend to generally address the food safety issues along the food production chain. And the next, and the other one that I would cover is our foresight program in a couple of slides. So just the scientific advice. So the way we do this governance and decisions, we do it through a program called scientific advice. So FAO and WHO, we kind of come together in this joint scientific advice program that supports the preparation and implementation of effective food safety policies, regulations, and control programs. The program is based on risk assessment bodies, which are, again, joint by FAO and WHO. So, for example, the first one, JECFA is Joint FAO-WHO Expert Committee on Food Additives. It sits within ESF. JMPR, the Joint FAO-WHO body meeting on pesticide residues, it sits with plant protection. GEMNU, it's the one on nutrition, it sits with our nutrition division. GEMRA, which is the expert meeting body on microbiological risk assessment, it again sits with ESF. And then, of course, we also have ad hoc meetings as and when required. So, JECFA, I would have to say that it's one of the oldest risk assessment bodies that FAO has. It actually predates Codex. So it has been meeting since 1956, initially to evaluate the safety of food additives, so like emulsifiers, flavorings, vitamins, etc., and so on. But now we also work on the evaluation of contaminants, naturally occurring toxicants, residues of veterinary drugs in food. We do not look into pesticides, for example. In 2021, just as an example of some of the toxicants that we have looked at, 2021, the GECFA Secretariat, we revised the dietary exposure assessment of cadmium, since we were talking about cadmium, to include not only just chocolate and cocoa products, but also contribution from all food sources. And we have some numbers for that current assessment. I'll be happy to send that along if you're interested. GEMRA, on the other side, that particular body looks at the assessment of foodborne pathogens or microbiological hazards in food and provides guidance on the application of these risk assessments. My work within the division also includes helping the GECFA Secretariat on veterinary drugs found in food. And so the work of all these bodies it has a process to it. So our work is very much dictated by the various codex committees who request assessments of substances based on the asks by member countries. So there's a mechanism by which these bodies operate. So for example, the work of GECFA is very much dictated by the codex committees called, they're long acronyms, but Codex Committee on Food Hygiene, so CCFH, Codex Committee on Contaminants in Food, so CCCF, and the Codex Committee on Residues of Veterinary Drugs in Food, the CCVRDF. All the scientific advice and feeds into the main commission meeting that happened just a few weeks ago, the Codex Commission meeting, which hopefully then leads to international food standards, leading to better food trade, protection of consumer health, and then leading to development. One of the things that we are also starting to do at the risk assessment level is to look at how we can assess complex chemical mixtures. This diagram is very busy, but I just wanted to give a very brief overview of how the scientific advice process sits in an overall mechanism. As I said, the structure for seeking scientific advice and standard setting is quite rigid. So what I discussed is kind of on the top left-hand side of the figure. But as you can see, it all connects down to the member countries and also to WTO. We do work with diverse actors. So we work with people from academia, we work with people from private industry, we work with member countries, we work with regulatory agencies. So our work is quite broad. Now going to another program that we have in our division, which is the Food Safety Foresight Program, and bulk of my work goes into this particular program. So what is foresight? Foresight is quite the buzzword right now in the agri-food systems world. Foresight is essentially a way of thinking about change, and change tends to be future oriented. So it's thinking about, it's developing a forward thinking kind of an attitude towards change that is coming towards us. It does not predict the future. Foresight consists of a set of very structured approaches for gathering and interpreting information from the fringes. So kind of really looking at early signs of change by monitoring global trends and drivers and looking into the future and thinking of what may be coming our way, what kind of policies and precautions can we take today to be prepared for these challenges coming towards us. So hopefully it leads to the development of these proactive strategies and plans. But why do we need that really in food safety? And it's because today the pressure on our agri-food systems to feed and nourish the world and the growing population, and it has never been higher while staying within planetary boundaries. And so today the food producers, manufacturers, suppliers are operating in a very rapidly evolving global context with new food safety issues emerging due to globalization, climate change, population growth, migration, changes in dietary patterns. There are many of these global trends that are kind of coming together like as a polycrisis. And so we have to be ready for these things constantly. And of course, how agri-food systems are transformed to meet the 2030 agenda over the coming decades will really have profound implications for food safety as well, in addition to our health, economic, social well-being, etc. So we need to keep pace with these changes. So that's where foresight really steps in. So one of the reports that we published last year was kind of a summation of how we do foresight within the food safety unit. What are the main issues that we see overall that is affecting agri-food systems but has implications for food safety? So these are some of the main topics that we looked at. That's on the right. You can get, this is the QR code for the publication if anybody's interested to just take a look at how we do this, how we do this work. One of the main areas of our work is also looking at the relationship between climate change and food safety. As I just heard earlier today, climate change is definitely bringing about a lot of additional challenges for us in terms of food safety, in terms of heavy metals in soil, in terms of pesticide applications in response to all these pests, large numbers of pests that are kind of migrating into areas that were not there before. Of course, we're also looking at other toxins like mycotoxins, and we're looking at microbiological hazards that are also kind of growing up. So this is just to give this infographic just gives a very broad overlook of the various food safety issues that may arise from just a very simple single aspect of climate change, which is increasing temperatures, can bring about higher incidences of foodborne, waterborne pathogens. It can drive plant pests into new territories, potentially leading to overuse of pesticides. You can have a higher uptake of heavy metals in staple crops. You can have more fungal infections. And of course, in the aquatic environment, we can also start to see algal toxins becoming a problem because of climate change. Another issue that we are monitoring is that of microplastics, and I was told that I also heard that plastics is also something that is of discussion in this particular group. So we published this very recently, where we also kind of looked very briefly at how soil can be the underestimated sink for microplastics with implications for human health. The uptake of microplastics by terrestrial plants has been reported, and that reports also suggest that microplastics can accumulate in the roots of the plants before being transported to the aerial parts like leaves and flowers and fruits. There are also other factors like proximity to urban areas, for example, or the use of plastic materials in agriculture can increase microplastics in agricultural soil. So there is some data, for example, from China that shows that phthalate concentrations in vegetables resulting from the use of plastic films in greenhouse gases was much, much higher than that was found in soil, for instance. But there are lots of issues still in this particular area. So, for example, there is not a whole lot of standardization or harmonization of the methods that are used for sampling and preparation of these samples and analysis of microplastics. And there's no legislation currently that specifically regulates the presence of microplastics in foodstuff and also in terms of food safety parameters. This is very, very recent. This publication just came out a few weeks ago. It is on environmental inhibitors. We understand that the challenge of feeding a growing global population by responding to climate crisis requires really a development of policies and practices to increase sustainability of agri-food systems and reduce the harmful effects on the environment. And so among these approaches, one of them is environmental inhibitors that are used to improve the production efficiency of crops and livestock while you want to reduce the emissions of greenhouse gas emissions like methane or loss of nitrogen from cultivated fields and pastures. But this presence of environmental inhibitors in food commodities can raise health concerns as well as trigger trade disruptions if standards are not established. And so some of these challenges around food safety risk assessment and management of these substances are discussed in this publication for primarily two types of inhibitors, the methanogenesis inhibitors and the nitrogen inhibitors. And these are some of our current areas of work. It includes some of these emerging contaminants, such as microplastics. We're also looking at things quite holistically. So from a circular economy perspective, so for example, the safety of water and the issues around water scarcity, the issues around reuse of gray water, what are the chemical contaminants that can be present that we need to be aware of, because as you're establishing circularity, there's a possibility that you're accumulating these hazards, and so it's just becoming a problem that you cannot get rid of. Of course, we're looking at food loss and waste in terms of circular economy. Climate change continues to be a big part of our work. We're also looking at how new technologies can help or hinder our work in food safety. Packaging alternatives, for example, there's a lot of alternatives that are currently coming up in the market in response to the plastic issues, but some of these alternatives may not be as the environmental impact of some of these packaging alternatives may not be as green as we thought it would be. So there are some issues around those. Of course, we're also looking at how our food systems are changing in terms of what kinds of foods are we eating today. So new foods and how are they produced. So in terms of plant-based alternatives or cell-based foods, etc. And very lastly, I just wanted to say that the concept of foresight is not just within our division, it is also being practiced at a much higher level at the corporate level of FAO. And there are 3 publications out. The last one came out this year. And this is a QR code where if you wanted to go and take a look at those. And foresight is actually becoming quite important because the last strategic framework of FAO that was published, it had a very big foresight component to it because we wanted to look into the future and think about what are the different trends and drivers around agri-food systems that we need to be prepared for as FAO. And so foresight is becoming quite important for our work at FAO. And with that, I would say thank you. This is the QR code if you wanted to take a look at our Foresight webpage. And you can contact either myself or Vittorio for any information that you may need for our program. So thanks a lot. And if you have any questions, please give me a shout.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Kia, for joining us. I think we've learned a lot about the ongoing work on at your division at INSOP. So fingers crossed we can collaborate together and work on promoting soil pollutants. I see that we have already a good contacts because of your division with WHO. I'm sure if we have any questions from our steering committee and from any other participants joining us here, please feel free to raise your hands and unmute your microphone as we can go and proceed to the open discussion now. And I think, Kay, you've emphasized clearly one of the meeting objectives today is to raise awareness on One Health approach, focusing on link between soil pollutants and food safety, which is quite important. I think I'm going to start with the few questions. So I was very fascinated when you said which contaminant that you've detected in plastic in China in high concentration. Was it thallium, you said?
Phthalates. Yeah, it's phthalates. That's not me who's detected. It's out in the literature that we just picked up. Yeah.
Daiho and any participants from China, were you aware about this high concentration of this metal detected in plastic?
So phthalates sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. I mean, I'm not familiar with that study. I wasn't sure with that, Gary. Are you talking about the plastic pollution in Delhi, or you're talking about this heavy metals? I was it wasn't
no,
very
so
clear to me.
so phthalates are plasticizers that are used in plastics to kind of make it more durable. So they are not heavy metals, but I'll be happy to share the link to the paper with you so you can take a look at that. Yeah, it
would be great. Perhaps you can, if you have the link, you can just share it with us for the next an hour and a half until we close the meeting. And one more question from my side, and then we're going to go to Paul Nathaniel. Paul, good morning. You said about the risk assessment, right? And it's quite important about having the knowledge about complex chemical mixtures. Is the tool that you're already working on, the risk assessment analysis, is it involved the assessment of the mixture of chemicals, of pollutants?
Yeah, we are starting to establish a mechanism for assessment of chemical mixtures. It's the work itself, it's quite challenging because risk assessments by nature, we tend to look at a single substance of interest. And every single substance comes from a class of chemicals. And so they behave in a certain way in a certain food matrix. Because we don't look at contaminants in water or soil. We're looking at it from a consumer perspective. So it's present in food. And so food is a very complex matrix anyway. And then when you add in these substances, which are also coming in terms of mixtures, it makes the job quite complex. And so we are in the process of establishing a mechanism to actually kind of get our minds together for assessing these chemical mixtures. So it's an ongoing work right now. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Paul Nathaniel, I see your hand raised. Good afternoon, Paul.
Good afternoon, everyone. It was really just to go back to the phthalates conversation. We've already established that they're not metals. They are, in fact, plasticizers. But it's not a problem limited to one country. They are a not surprising and well-known component of plastics, be it durable or disposable plastics. So that's the point I wanted to make, Sergis. It was relating to the previous conversation you were having, and there was lots of literature on that. Maybe 10 years ago, my family and I took part in a BBC documentary where we were asked about our appetite for using or not using certain types of plastics. And TV cameras came into our house and they interviewed us and filmed us getting rid of all the bits of plastic that we weren't using, and then had us tested and so on. It's a well-known, well-established problem. So that was just the comment on the last conversation.
Great. Thanks for elaborating this. Thank you very much. David, what are your reflections on this, on the work that the ESF is doing, and what do you think how we can progress here?
Thank you, Sergis. It's interesting that we immediately turn to plastics pollution. There's not so much emphasis on heavy metals. So my question was to Kea, how much does heavy metals come up as an issue that you see for food safety?
We do get some requests for heavy metals. So, for example, the cadmium one that we just talked about, that came up 2 years ago. We do get some heavy metals for sure. But then again, as I said, these things. So the foresight tells us something like, okay, heavy metals are becoming an issue. But if the member states do not tell Codex committees that they think it's an issue, our risk assessment bodies will not go in and just assess it. Because as I said, there's a mechanism to kind of approach us to do these assessments. So we can inform the public through our foresight program that, hey, we think these might be the emerging contaminants, you must look out for that. And hopefully the member states actually pick that up and then kind of turn around and tell us, hey, can you please assess that? Yeah.
And I think that really highlights the need for this group to be that link in that process.
But then member states are saying that this is not priority for them because they're not aware of the damage that can be caused to the food crop with heavy metals. So it's actually really not a priority for them.
Honestly, that's a conversation that I'm not privy to. So I do not know. Yeah.
No, I think that's a more rhetorical question to all of us.
Yeah.
In order to continue raising awareness in this topic to member states. We see another hand here, Tapan Atia. Tapan, good afternoon. You can unmute your microphone and raise your comment or question.
Good afternoon, Sergey. I think among the emerging contaminants, microplastics, especially in marine food items, is coming up as an issue. many of the aquatic animals, I mean, their tissues have been found to be contaminated with the microplastics. And I think this should be taken care of and considered subsequently.
Thank you for this valuable comment. Kaya, do you have something to respond?
Yeah, I was going to say that, yes, the issue of plastics in aquatic environments has been highlighted a lot because there's a lot of evidence for that. But what we are starting to see is that soil is a link that was not highlighted before, and there is plenty there if you start to go look for it. And the recent FAO publication on agricultural plastics also talked about that, how soil is definitely a link that needs to be highlighted a lot more, because as Taban just mentioned, there is a lot out there in the aquatic environments.
And seeing that soil is actually linked to One Health, and we have publications, is WHO aware about this? And have they started talking to FAO about Global Health Observatory and promoting soil pollution in there? Perhaps that's the starting point for us to address with them. So, okay, Ravi, we have a question. Please go ahead.
Thanks, Sajis. Kia, you're absolutely right about microplastics present in soil, because wherever we have used biosolids as a source of nutrients, we have introduced microplastics. And some of the work that we have done, particularly where people have used a coverage of plastics to retain moisture, for instance, and even artificial lawns that we have, that has also introduced microplastics into soils. So the transfer of microplastics from soils into vegetable crops that we grow to humans is something that we need to be concerned with as well.
Absolutely. And I think now that there's growing evidence that plastics can also act as vectors or vehicles for bringing in additional issues. So we also have it bringing in more, it can adhere to pathogens, for example, that can spread antibacterial resistance. It can also adhere to heavy metals, for example, and bring it to other places. So microplastics is not just an issue by itself. It's just, it can compound issues that were not there before.
Just to let you know, Kaya and Ravi, and to all of participants joining here, we had the meeting yesterday with Wageningen University, who are actually doing a fantastic job on analyzing pesticides in the soil and how these pesticides are transformed into the food crop and then into the human health. Direct linkage in the One Health approach that we're trying to address. And also having this in mind regarding pesticides, we'll have a webinar early next year focusing and raising this awareness on how pesticides are transferred from soil to crop and to the human health. And because a lot of those pesticides that they're still used today, they can be classified as endocrine disruptors and they have mutagenicity and so on. So having this in mind, I think we have in a very good position to focus on and address this issue beyond FAO to WHO, to UNEP, and to the animal organization as well. Okay, I hope that next year we're going to organize this joint webinar, FAO and GRC, and draft the framework and proposal to WHO and start addressing soil pollution indicators as soon as possible. Because if we're going to open the Global Health Observatory now, you will find nothing on soil pollution indicators.
Sounds like a good plan.
Paul?
Yeah, I've just put a link into the chat to the EU Sprint project that Wageningen are leading. If anybody would like any more information, the latest newsletter that we've just sent out includes links to presentations given during the UN General Assembly Science Week program in October. So I'll put my email address in the chat as well. But if you go to the website and register, you'll get updates And if you want a copy of the current newsletter, then drop me an email and I'll send it through if you want to see what we've been up to.
That's right. Thank you very much, Paul. Yes, indeed, we were discussing that with Violet yesterday. We're leading the sprint project on how we can use FAO and INSOP as a platform for raising awareness in this issue. I think it's a very important topic to consider. Any other questions or comments from any participants here? No? Okay. Well, in case you have any questions, you can please put them in the chat box. Just to let you know that all recordings and presentations that you will see today will be published, hopefully before Christmas time. And I will let you know once they're published, and so you can familiarize yourself if you missed something. So yeah, Kea, thank you very much. We're looking forward to liaise with ESF and approach other UN organizations in addressing soil pollution, particularly WHO.
Oh, no, thank you. Thank you so much for the invitation. And you have my email address and Vittorio's email address. So please feel free to drop us a line, and we'll be happy to see how we can support your endeavors.
That's great. Thank you very much, Kea.
All right, thanks.
I think David and participants, we already addressed a lot about plastic and microplastic. I think that will be very well addressed at the soil pollution trainings to farmers, because addressing plastic in farmers' communities is quite important, isn't it? A lot of people are not aware about this damage, and so we can use that one. I think that's a very good transition that we can do now to activity number 2, and we'll pass the floor to moderator David O'Connor. We're very good on time. So David, over to you.
Oh, thank you, Sergius. And activity 2 is about knowledge exchange and helping farmers to do their farming in a safe way. So protecting them from soil pollution, protecting food safety. And we are very lucky to be joined by Mateusz. I can see you online. Hello and welcome. Mateusz, perhaps you would like to introduce yourself and then go on to your presentation on the World Banana Forum project.
Thank you very much, David, and also thank you very much, Sergius. Thank you for the invitation for this meeting of the working group. My name is Mateusz Lima. I am an environmental sustainability specialist for the World Banana Forum Secretariat, held here in FAO in the Markets and Trade Division. So in my presentation, I will talk about the World Banana Forum project and some of the soil contaminations of concern in the banana industry. Could you please confirm you can see my screen? Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Should I start, David? Can I start?
Yes, please do.
So yes, thank you very much. The World Banana Forum, as I was mentioning, is a multi-stakeholder platform held in FAO. We have more than 10 years of existence. Is a particular, let's say, platform in FAO that brings together the different stakeholders of the banana industry. So we have from small producers to producer associations to big exporters to trading companies, going to certification schemes, retailers, and etc. So the World Banana Forum was created 11 years ago to be this neutral platform of assembly. So that's why the idea to be held by FAO so could be neutral. And we have these different voices from the industry to reach consensus on the sustainability issues. So during this discussion, more than 12 years ago, it was decided that the work would be divided in 3 main areas of work in the 3 pillars of sustainability. So environmental, social, and economic. So here we have on the screen some of the mandate of the World Banana Forum. We facilitate these discussions. We try to reach consensus on these sustainability issue matters, but we also have projects, and we work hands-on in the field with producers, with value chain actors to address the sustainability issues of the industries. Here in the screen, you have also an image of some of our members, not all of them, but we can see that we have all the constituencies represented. And we think that this is very valid because we can hear the different perspectives, no? The perspective from a producer, but also the perspective from the workers. For example, we have labor unions that are members of the forum. We have certification schemes, We have the research centers, institutes, some intergovernmental organizations, and big companies being actors in the industry, for example, Chiquita, Dole, Del Monte, that really move a lot of products and produce lots of bananas. Now we have producer organizations, the main producer organizations in Africa. We have Afribana, we have Dominican Republic, Ecuador, Colombia, Costa Rica, and the supermarkets that also often brings a very interesting perspective on all the sustainability issues, main Germans, but also retailers from the UK and big retailers from mainly Europe. No? So the forum brings together all these voices to address the main sustainability issues. No? The forum operates with their steering committee meetings, advisory board meetings, and also even 2 years we organize our global conference where all the main sustainability issues are discussed, and we try to develop also a pathway for the future of the industry. No? So last one was in Geneva in the Palais des Nations, and the last one, sorry, and our next one will be next year in March in FAO headquarters. So I also would like to invite those that have an interest to participate in our global conference. Here we have a brief overview of what I had just mentioned about how our work is divided. We have the working group 1, that is what we're gonna present today, that is focused on sustainable production systems and environmental impact. So the main work streams of the working group 1 are agroecology, climate change, and inside of climate change and agroecology, here is a very summarized scheme, but we also address pesticides, pesticide use, integrated pest management, and as you can see, plastic use. We also have work in distribution of value, work in labor rights, but something that is very interesting, and also I will mention a little bit more further about the work on labor rights, is our work in occupational health and safety. That is also related with what was mentioned in the other presentation, also how to protect, how to protect producers and workers about these risks related to pesticides. Now going into the matter, it was mentioned also in the other presentation by the participants, one of the main soil contaminants of concern or contaminants of concern in general in the banana industry are pesticides. Mainly of this disease called black sigatoka. So because of black sigatoka, many banana producing farms have aerial spraying. And as you know, aerial spraying have a huge risk of drift. And these pesticides end up in water bodies and in fields, in the soil, and also in people. We can see in this image that the people are working very close to this aerial application. So inside the World Banana Forum, we work to support producers first with occupational health and safety to reduce these types of risks that we see in the image. For example, the World Banana Forum, together with the Ministry of Labor of Ecuador, that is the biggest exporting country of bananas in the world, launched a manual on occupational health and safety that now is mandatory in the country. So we also have this kind of institutional hands-on results. And we also work to support producers in integrated pest management, not to abolish totally this type of applications, because in some regions we know it is important, but to advise them to only spray when is needed, the dose is needed, and to avoid the risks and the contamination. Other contamination or soil contaminant of concern that was mentioned during the other presentation, during the other discussion, is macro and microplastics. Don't know if you are aware, but banana production relies a lot in the utilization of plastics for various purposes. We can see here in the image, this white bag, it's called a bunch bag. And you can see also nylon ropes that are used to sustain the banana plants. And here we have a double problem, because usually these bunch bags are impregnated with insecticides. So we have the issue of pesticides and the issue of plastics in the same field. Also inside this bunch bag, usually it's used what we call plastic foams that are used to protect the bananas to be having attract the clusters of bananas, one cluster with other. These bunch bags are also used to prevent the attacks of tribes, moths, and aphids to make the banana look great. No? So the World Banana Forum now have a very strong focus to address this type of contamination in this type of issue, no, in the banana industry. I've seen the chat box that was posted, also the report, the assessment of use of plastics in agriculture, where in this study, they also refer a lot to the banana production. So here we can see, I talked a lot about bench bags, but it's not the only type of plastics used in banana production. No? There is several types of plastics that are used in banana production and often end up, when it's not properly managed, in the soils and in the water bodies. No? So here to give a little bit more of detailed information on what these bunch bags are made of, which type of pesticides are used, and so on. They are usually made of polyethylene with different thickness and densities. And unfortunately, in conventional bananas, they are extensively used. So each bunch of banana has a plastic bag impregnated with insecticides associated. No? So the most common pesticides used before was chlorpyrifos, but due to some restriction in residues in the USA and in Europe, they are not used anymore. But bifenthrin are still the most commonly used insecticides on these bunch bags. No, they are using different concentrations, and as I mentioned, they work very well to control aphids, thrips, moths, and beetles, and also to create a microclimate that supports the homogeneous ripening of these banana clusters. Estimative of how much of these bunch bags are used vary a lot in the report of FAO. They estimate 45 kilos per hectare as an average. Other studies considering nylon ropes and also plastic, other type of plastic structures, goes up to 70 kilos per hectare in a banana farm. And this is an issue. This is a big issue because when it's not proper managed, we can have something, as we can see here in this picture, that will end up as macroplastic in the soil, but also can degrade to microplastics in the banana soil. We have some quantities. There is data available for some specific situations, but there is no specific data available for the leakage, for how much of these plastics are end up in water bodies, soil, etc. Here, I would like to put these characterization factors of toxicity of these two pesticides. We provide support to producers more in our work on carbon and water footprint, because we have a tool to measure carbon water footprint at organizational level, at company level, that also measure impacts, no, in the environment. And here you can see that bifenthrin especially has a high impact on species, no? So this is the number of species that 1 kilo of active ingredient by cubic meter can cause. So 6 million of species could be affected by this type of residue in the environment. So it is an issue. So for the banana industry now, for the World Banana Forum, we have a subgroup on climate change adaptation, mitigation, biodiversity conservation that operates under the working group 1 that I mentioned. And one of the strong focus is on plastics, especially those bunch bags, no? Because they pose a significant concern for our soils. No? So now the World Banana Forum Secretariat is engaging with stakeholders. We create a survey, we're doing interviews to try to gather more precise data regarding the extension of the problem, how these companies are managing these plastics, if they have some data on residues, and to also gather good practices so we can scale up. One example that I would like to highlight is that Chiquita, I think everyone knows that this company, are doing a rejuvenation program. This means when they took out the banana plants, old banana plants, and substitute for new varieties or new plants. And during this exercise, in their sustainability report, they indicates that they are removing approximately 1 ton of plastic per hectare from different even decades. So those hazardous pesticides that were used in the past and end up on the soil are still there, no? And so this can bring some light on the amount of the problem. And despite of these efforts, we still do not have data on the amount of micro and nanoplastics that could be in these banana soils. This remains unknown, and the uptake also from these banana plants and how this is ending up in the fruit. So some of the potential solutions that we are working with, we have identified among our members are first, reverse logistic programs. Some countries, as Brazil and France, have these especially for pesticide containers, but we think that could be also applied for these bunch bags, that the manufacturer company then establish a program to, after using, they could take back these plastics and recirculate in the manufacture chain. There is use of alternative plastics. You can see here in the photos, there are companies, organic, biodynamic companies using paper instead of these plastic bags. They have some issues, especially related with the fruit appearancy. So the World Banana Forum is also working with supermarkets, and we'll try to work with consumers to raise awareness about that. If a banana have a small scratch, it's still perfectly eatable, and we'll have less residues of pesticides and less harmful for the environment. So we are also mapping these initiatives. There are reuse of plastic programs. Del Monte and Fives are working with manufacturers so they can reuse these plastics 2-3 times to not be a single-use plastics. There are recycling programs in many countries of Latin America where they transform these residues of plastics in corner boards for pallets, but also of plastic wood, playgrounds, and different products. No. Other alternatives can be rejuvenation programs. For example, Chiquita, that's really removing all the plastic from the soil, could be also an alternative. And to develop and use bio-based or bioplastics alternatives to that, there is also a company in Italy, other company in Spain working on this area. So now, from the World Banana Forum now, our idea is to continue to gather these good examples. We are planning to launch a huge survey to our members and to banana industry stakeholders to then see how we can scale up these solutions and try to tackle this issue. So thank you very much. That was what I had planned to present to you, and I'm open for questions or any comments. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, Matthias. That was a very interesting talk. I learned a lot about the banana industry and the use of plastics and pesticides. We are going to have some open discussion later in this meeting. So if you do have questions for Matthias, please save them for then. Before that, we're very fortunate to be joined by Carolina Oliveira Sanchez, who is joining us from the FAO Global Soil Partnership. And the Global Soil Partnership, or the GSP, have a Global Soil Doctors Program or educational material to reach farmers across different regions. So Carolina, if you could please introduce yourself and talk to us about farmers training and soil pollution indicators in the One Health approach. Thank you very much.
David, slight correction. Caroline said that she will be replaced by Janet Nabwami, who's actually sharing the screen. Caroline is actually here in a meeting, but it's Janet who's going to present today.
Okay, welcome, Janet.
Last minute replacement.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, David. Thank you, Sergis. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Janet, and I coordinate the activities of the Soil Doctors Program. And together with work together with the Carolina. So for today, I'll be presenting. Okay, can you see my screen? Okay, good, thank you. So today I'll be looking at the Soil Doctors Program and how we do farmer trainings, and also point some aspects on soil pollution indicators in the One Health approach. So the Soil Doctors Program mainly was developed as a response to the global challenges, mainly on biodiversity, on pollution, on land degradation. So these translate into more of the Sustainable Development Goals. And with the Soil Doctors program, we see that soils are also key in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. And soils, through their functions, linked to ecosystem services and also human well-being. Soils through the functions of purification, filtration of water, through them acting as a carbon sink, really help a lot in a number of the Sustainable Development Goals. And as we see from the World Soil Resource publication, we've seen that soils actually are under a lot of stress. And a lot of it mainly, a lot of the stress is coming from threats, more like 10 threats that are affecting our soils: erosion, nutrient imbalance, salinization. As you see, like for example, soil erosion, we have about 37 billion tons of topsoil lost each and every year. Salinization, we have about 8% of our soils are affected or impacted by salinization, and we have about 20% already at risk of that. So our soils really are need to take care of them. And who better to do that than the farmers who use them, who utilize them most of the time. And soils, as you see, are key, and they play a big role in the One Health. And with the farmers as our agents of change, we look at the soil. They are all embedded in all these One Health approach. The farmers mainly do a lot in achieving soil health. They also translate into human health, environmental health, animal health, etc. So with this, we look at building a capacity of the farmers and see how they can sustainably manage the soil. And with the various networks that we have in the GSP networks, the GLOSLAN, Salt Affected, NATSAB on biodiversity, the one on fertilizer analysis, and the one now looking at pollution. All these networks do provide invaluable input into the Soil Doctors program. They help with the development of educational materials in sustainable soil management practices. They also help with coming up with some case studies that can help the farmers to understand the program better. So what is the Soil Doctors program? This you can find more about it on some of the links that I'll provide later on. This is under the Global Soil Partnership, and you can find the website when you open the Global Soil Partnership. You find the Soil Doctors program under that, and this program, you can find more about it. I'll put the links in the chat, but it is more of a farmer-to-farmer initiative that looks at building the capacity of the farmer in sustainable soil management, and also taking into understanding the local concept or the local area where the farmer is coming from, or the local communities. And then the program is tailored towards their needs. So you can get involved. It's not limited to farmers. This program can be involved with the academia, with government, with agro-input dealers, you name it. And it involves a lot with the promoter. A promoter is more of an institute that helps to coordinate most of the activities of the program and help to implement them on more of a national or a local scale. And the promoter then helps with identifying trainers who can train soil doctors. And a soil doctor mainly is a champion farmer, a farmer that is willing and on a voluntary basis to explain, to interact with other farmers, to transfer knowledge to them about sustainable soil management. So the soil doctor should be willing to actually train other farmers. And we also have collaborators, those who can just get the educational material that is on the website, and then they can use it for purposes of educating perhaps some farmers, etc. So they inform us of these activities, and then we can take note of them and see also how to assist them. And the other way is you also can be involved as a donor. Maybe your institute wants to put some funds to advance on farmer technology, or to advance on assisting farmers in managing their soils. So you can put some funds through that. So the educational material that we do have is mainly, this program is tailored through posters and simple field exercises. And also we do have a kit that we do provide that actually helps with the visual assessment of the soil. The program isn't there to take over this laboratory analysis, but it is to help the farmer understand more aspects about the soil. So we have training modules that are mainly, the training modules, we mainly program them into more of posters. We have 4 posters and field exercises, simple exercises for the farmer to understand the soil or the situation and how to manage it. And normally these field exercises and the posters, we do them on the farmer's fields. And then later on, we do an evaluation of the soil condition and see how to recommend and some practices to them on how to improve their soils. So each training module will consist of the physical, the chemical, and biological properties of the soil. We take care of that too. And we have over 27 posters that are available. And you can go through the website. I'll put the links later, and you can see the materials that we do have. But for this particular meeting, I'll focus on the posters that we have on soil pollution. And we have 2 posters. The first one is talking about what is soil pollution. As you can see, these posters, they are really busy. They really have a lot of information. And through this meeting and through this network, we want to see how can we simplify some of these posters and educational materials so that the farmer can easily understand them. I see we have some technical terms like aromatic hydrocarbons. These can be very, very technical for the farmers to understand, and we want to make it more easier and simpler. So with your help, we'll see how these can be simplified. And the next poster is about soil pollution, how to prevent it on agriculture fields. And with this, we look at some of the factors that are causing pollution, and then what preventive measures can be done. So these, we want to come up with some common measures that can be done and can help the farmer to manage soil pollution. So again, with the Soil Doctors program, do have kits that can help in the visual assessment. I'd already mentioned that we do a visual assessment of the soil. So we have like these kits can help us to analyze like texture, organic matter, structure, and name it carbonate in the soil, roots, etc. So with these, you can also add some that can be used for soil pollution. It can also help us to look at that. And this is an example of a field exercise. Normally, it's just 2 pages, easy for the farmer to understand. We'll put the relevance of this field exercise and the simple materials that can be used, and then a simple procedure of how to follow and to analyze their soil, either visually or so. And then also we look at the advantages of the method, and what questions can be addressed through this program, and then the evaluation for that particular soil. And finally, then we have the evaluation card. that from each and every aspect that we tackle onto the farm or with the farmer, either if it is physical, chemical, or biological. And from there, we'll evaluate the soil, and then we can come up with the recommended practices for the farmer to take. So with that, we come to how can this network be helpful in the Soil Doctors program. First, it was like looking at the posters. We've looked at the 2 posters on pollution. How can we adjust those posters to make them more simplified for the farmers to understand? And also, we do not have field exercises on pollution. So we would like, with the support of this network, to see how to develop some field exercises on soil pollution. And perhaps also develop 1 or 2 modules on the guidelines of soil pollution, and also compile some case studies on soil pollution prevention and remediation. So with that, I thank you for listening to me, and over to you, David. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. Thank you for a very interesting talk, and some really great material that you already have there. And I'm sure we're all very much looking forward to helping you to develop this material. I think one question we all have on our minds is those field kits. How are they distributed?
The field kits are distributed for if we have a country that or a promoter that is interested in implementing the program. We first discuss with them and see what is their interest, and look at the criteria that we have in our terms of reference, and then from there, then we can like support them if we don't have some financial means, support them to give kits to the trainers. Some of them, actually, some countries go further ahead to even procure kits for the soil doctors that they do have in training. So it is not basically like a one-way trip that, oh, yes, if you're involved in this program, automatically you'll get the kits. It depends on what we discuss with you. And also, if you do have some financial means, then you would want to procure for yourself. If you don't have, we see a way to support you in a way that we can. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. This all looks excellent. And you've mentioned some ways that we as a group can help you around developing the posters, producing some field exercises, producing modules on soil pollution, and perhaps any case studies. I don't know, Sergis, you have been involved in some case studies with Nicole. So we have quite a lot of time now to discuss, which is great, because this is the most important part of the meeting, is the open discussion. And so if anybody does have any questions for either Matthias around the Banana Forum, or for Janet, ways that we can help to produce training material for the Soil Doctors program, where we need to focus, what are the how to produce those posters in a more easily digestible form or format for farmers, and any case studies that we should be bringing forward, or any training material that we can use.
Yeah, I see the chat is quite active, David. I think everyone interested. Janet, you've done a very good job in advertising educational soil kits. And one of the questions, how can we get the soil kit? Do we have a answer to this? So the question is from Rosalina Gonzalez: how can we implement the program in a specific crop production in the country? But before that, she also asked, how can I obtain one of the soil educational kits? Team, over.
Okay, so for the soil kits, you need to be implementing the program activities. It's just not that we do give on an individual basis, no. So you need to be involved in the program, and through the promoter, and then we can discuss about the kits. So it's not that, okay, yes, I'm interested in the program, please send me a kit, and then, you know, I'll just go ahead and just keep it at home. No, but if you're interested in that, you need to promote the program and be willing to also educate the farmers, etc. And then now you can get a kit. Yeah.
Thanks. Just before we're going to go
Yeah,
to
and
Japan, his hand was first. Yes, Janet.
no, please go ahead.
Yeah, I just have an ultimate question before we go to Japan. So doctors already running for a couple of years, right? If I understand correctly. How many years? And also, how many countries are involved already in soil doctors program? Of course, not from the perspective of soil pollution, because we're just going to start addressing soil pollution now. But in general, how many countries already been involved in soil doctors program around the world? So to have this global picture to all the participants here, how big is it?
Okay, so totally at the moment we have about 46 countries that are interested, and we do have about 24 promoting institutions that are promoting the soil doctors program, and we have about 18 languages that have offered translation of educational materials. And so far, we have implementation in about 12 countries globally. We have in Africa, in Latin America. We also have in Eurasia, and we have in Asia. So this is some of the areas that we are that the program has been implemented in. Yeah.
Thank you, Janet. Tapan, please go ahead, unmute your microphone. Please introduce yourself and where you're from, and we're looking for your question.
Yeah, I am Tapan Adhya from India. I think your posters are really interesting. I have seen some of them. And my only suggestion here is that can we develop the things into massive open online course? Your modules are very good. I think if we can, and very effective also, the way it has been arranged, I was following the chat. I think if you can develop into massive open online course, I think many of the, especially I am targeting the school dropouts and rural background students and boys who can play with the mobile, and in the mobile they can have a look at the courses and then learn more, because a video message is always better than going to a tree shade and gather together and see through the posters. But I think if you can develop it through into MOOCs, I think that will be very helpful and useful also. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Pen, for that. At the moment, yes, we are developing some video tutorials in respect to the soil doctors program. So we have some materials that is under development that can be used as videos, just guidance for, as you say, for the students, for academia, for the farmers, that can easily be used and to follow. But yes, an online course is really a very good idea also. We'll look into that. Thank you very much.
Thank you for this answer. Thomas Jacob, we see your hand raised up. Please unmute yourself and introduce yourself and which country you're from.
Yeah, Janet, it was a nice. I am Thomas from India, and we work with almost 3,000 small farmers into organic. So one of my question is that the doctors program it's a holistic approach, or do you go into the micro elements or rest of the thing, and also into the pollutants? These are the two questions I had. Does the doctors soil doctor program cover the total nutrition, or rather the general nutrition like soil health on pH and organic carbon alone, or when it go into the micronutrients and the deficiencies of the soil health? That was one side. And and also how the small pollutants are also being covered. That's another another question I had in the doctor's program, like plastics and rest of the thing. Thank you. I hope my question was clear.
It is as clear as possible, yes, and I can answer it easily. It's not covered yet. That's the main purpose why we're here. We would like to launch soil pollution. We need to understand, and Janet said already a way forward. What should we do? And if you're interested, if anyone is interested in helping us to develop those posters, exercises, field materials, we need to formulate a working group where we'll sit together, review the material, make the adjustments so that we can all go to the farmers and implement them. Because currently, as Janet said, we have this poster talking about aromatic hydrocarbons. And I don't think farmers will understand what aromatic hydrocarbons are. So we need to adjust them and see how we can implement that. David, what do you think?
Yes, absolutely. This is one of the key targets or objectives for this group is to improve the material that we have and to provide that material in a format that is easily digestible by farmers. And we're here today to hear your suggestions. So very interesting that you mentioned micronutrients as well as the contaminants and how they link together, particularly as we are interested in promoting a One Health approach to food safety. And so I would also ask those other members on the call today, what suggestions do you have that need to go into this training material? Thank you.
Janet, any additions to this?
Yes, you're correct. This is, I think, the network and the group that can help us with the shaping up the pollution posters that we have, and also come up with some field exercises that tailored to pollution, to micronutrients, as this also we do not have. Yeah, so I think this is a great idea. We're looking at seeing the topics actually that can be covered in line with the program, especially on soil pollution. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Janet. So yes, Thomas, Jacob, if you're interested in helping us to develop the modules and do you have any ideas and suggestions, please feel free to join the working group that we'll formulate after this meeting. In my upcoming email to all participants who registered in this meeting, I'll ask this question, whether you're interested to formulate a technical working group only focusing for developing material for soil pollution trainings. We have a hand from Rosalina Gonzalez next, joining us from Colombia, if I'm not mistaken. Buenos dias. If you have a question, please feel free to ask.
Hi, buenos dias. It's a pleasure to stay here, and the information is very helpful for all of us. I'm seeing the answer of Carolina, who says that I can touch with some institutions in my country, but mainly of those institutions are the national ones. For farmers or for some specific association, is not easy to go to them because they are in a different part of the country. I have a question. Can as a specific association, for example, of cocoa production farmers, can as association be a part of soil doctors, or I have to try to contact the guys of the national institution? I ask because it's not easy. It's not easy because you can write an email, but you don't know who is answer or if somebody's there. This is one question. And the other thing is, if we know, okay, if we know a solution as a doctor, as a soil doctor, how can give the information to the other guys in this group? For example, I implement a good, a nice way to kill a plague, so a problem in a crop, but in a sustainable way. But you don't know about that. How can connect us the solution in different ways? The plagues or insects, crops, or contamination, pollution. For example, we develop a mineral which trap some metals, but many people don't know. How can we share this solution as a doctors in the group? That are the questions that I have.
Come again for the last part. I didn't hear properly. Could you repeat your question, please? The last one, the last question.
If we have a solution as a farmer, but it's a sustainable solution, how we can share this solution? Because in that case, we are a soil doctor. And for example, many people in other countries have the problem, but I haven't. But how can connect us to give and promote a very nice solution as a doctors, and especially the sustainable ones?
Okay. Carolina, would you like to take that up, and then I can take up the one for the Farmers Association? Okay.
Yes, no problem. Hello, everyone. I'm here also with Janet presenting about Soil Doctors program. Yes, about the question about the farmer association. Yes, of course, a farmer association can join the program directly with us. We are coordinating in each country the activities through the national promoter. We have the direct contact with the national promoter. We have a person who is responsible for that. So we put you in contact with them, because they want to have the overview of what is being implemented in their country. So each national promoter is coordinating more or less the activities, but of course with our support. So any university, farmer association, NGO, anything, anyone can join the program. Independently, you can download the materials and go ahead and implement the program, or you can also work with us. We can certify trainers and have trainers certified in the field to work with us. The soil doctors then are trained. You can have a look at our website. We have very good videos from Mexico, for example, with already some soil doctors working there and training other farmers. The objective is to empower these farmers to train other farmers. And in Mexico, they are very interested for some specific topic issues of pollution. So this is why we contacted Sergio's first, because we need the support on the development of these modules on soil pollution. In general, we implement one first module, which is what is soil, is very general. And the second module will be more in detail. And in this moment in Mexico, they are very advanced, and they arrive to the module 2 on what is soil pollution, and they want to know more, and they want to work together with us and with the network. So when a farmer has a solution, as you say, sustainable soil management practices that he wants to share, we have two ways to do it. Or we do it through the Soil Doctors program, or we do it through the network. If you participate in this network, if you are working together with INSOP and you are developing sustainable soil management practices in specific for pollution, we are working also together to work in a compilation of case studies. This compilation of case studies will be published. We are going to publish that together, and then we are going to extract from there some practices for farmers. So this is also, as Janet was saying, we want to work together with the networks on the sustainable soil management practices that have been really successful in some countries, in some places, and we want to compile this information and share it with other farmers. This is our objective also, to create this network between farmers, between farmers and networks, and this is how we want to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolina. You were very clear.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for this answer. We still have 2 more hands to go. Dr. Satish Karande joining us. Good afternoon, Dr. Satish. Please unmute yourself, introduce, and say where you're joining us from. You're unmuted.
Hello.
Please proceed. Yes.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
I am Dr. Satish Karande from India. We, our organization work with the small and marginal farmers in the view of increasing the crop biodiversity for risk mitigation and also for sustainable soil management. My question is how we can participate, contribute to the soil doctor program as our case study, our experience. How can I contribute in this program?
Thank you for your question. Janet?
Yes, as a case study, the one to contribute from experiences from India. Well, Doctor, you're part of this network. So your experiences as we are looking into developing case studies, this is one of the platforms that can be used for you to share this experience with us. So through this network, then we can look at the case studies you have, and then we can go ahead to develop them. Yeah. So this is one of the ways you can contribute. It's one of the ways that we requested for a way forward with the network, helping the developing case studies, and this can be done through the network. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dr. Satish, I highly encourage you to drop me an email with explanations of your case study, and we can have a separate discussion on that to see what can we do.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Paul Nathaniel? Yes, thank you. Paul Nathaniel? Yes.
Thanks, Sergey. The phrase sustainable soil management has been used several times. And I would encourage people to realize that what is a sustainable practice in one place may not be somewhere else. And to simply claim that a practice is sustainable without any boundaries is really dangerous and unhelpful. What is appropriate in the mountains of Cyprus may not be appropriate in the black soils of the Ukraine, for example. So I think we just need to be very careful about not losing the power of words like sustainable. I led the working group that drafted the international standard on sustainable remediation. So it's really important to have good definitions, and we don't waste the power of a word like sustainable by using it loosely and without any deep meaning.
It's a very valuable comment. Yes, thank you, Paul. Today, everything is sustainable, isn't it? This word has everything so much, and it can sometimes lose. Actually, it's the whole meaning. Carolina, your comment on this?
Thank you, and thank you for the remark. It just made me think about something else about the Global Soil Doctors program, is that we cannot have a solution for all the countries of the world on how to manage soil. So this is how why the educational materials of the Global Soil Doctors program are developed in a general way. And then with the national promoter and with the national institutions collaborating with us, we adapt the material to the local conditions. I think this is very important because we cannot arrive directly from Rome and to one country to explain how to manage soils. We need to work with the local institutions to adapt these materials. This will be the case also for the pollution educational material. We will have a general educational material that we need to adapt with the local actors. This was an important remark, I think.
Indeed, yes. Thank you, Carolina. David and everyone from Soil Doctors program, I think we can have a very good material developed here. First of all, again, start with this foundation, what is soil pollution? We can formulate that group and then go into tailored modules based on the needs of the country and farmers' fields, right? So we heard the Colombia and South America, we've already done a very good case study in cocoa management and mitigation practices to reduce heavy metal intake from the soil to plants. So we can develop this module 2, tailored one specifically to the need. We also have a very good case study from Ukraine, how black soils are impacted by the war pollutants, right? So we can do another tailored module for those countries specifically, where we can go to the fields in Ukraine and train farmers and do the mitigation practices and management. That's kind of the approach that I foresee here. I'm not sure, David, what do you think of this strategy? But of course, before we start, we need to hear and understand who is willing to help us, because Karolina and Janet cannot do that themselves. They're not soil pollution experts. We are. And the members that are here, there are 52 of them today, I think we can all join together and develop something meaningful and practical.
Sergius, if I could raise a point here, please. Well, firstly, is to encourage everybody to be willing to contribute. So either through this meeting today or by contacting Sergius, you can get his email address and provide your case studies or comments to him. And we've had some discussion around case-specific, context-specific requirements for training materials. I think also we can look at contaminant-specific. For example, cadmium. One of the very common ways to deal with cadmium pollution in agricultural soil is through a liming effect, so by soil pH adjustments. And in countries where there are lime materials available that can be mined and used on site, that can be quite a straightforward way to deal with this specific issue, or through the use of biochar or other alkaline materials to adjust soil pH. So I think there are training that we can do on this kind of approach to help farmers to protect their soil, to protect their crops. But there's always going to be site-specific context to that kind of training material, and we need to get that correct so that we're not causing more harm than good. And I think if we are creating more good than harm, then we can say that what we're doing is sustainable.
I agree. Yes, totally agree. And a good contaminant, we need to understand, Karolina, so you said Mexico is already advanced, right? So, and they want to implement soil pollution modules. Do we know in which angle of soil pollution they want to go? So we need to seek that information first, right? Okay. I think that can be a very good start for us. If Mexico is already advanced, we have a case study in South America on cacao, and we have Ukraine on impacted war.
We have also banana, because we
Banana,
are working together with Mateus. We are collaborating with Mateus since a long time, and we have proposing a module, a specific module on banana management. So yes, it can be also a possibility, I think, no, Mateus?
And I think we've heard already from Mateus that we know contaminants of concern for bananas, pesticides and plastic, right? So we're quite advanced here, right, Mateus?
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Karolina. We are indeed collaborating with the Global Soil Doctor program to develop these modules focused on banana. No? In one of these components that are still under discussion could be to avoid this type of contaminants. No, plastics, as I mentioned, we have a strong focus, and perhaps pesticides on soil could be also something that we could look onto it.
So Mateus, will World Banana Forum be interested in implementing Soil Doctors program focusing on soil pollution aspects?
This we have yet to be discussed. Our focus now is more on we call climate change adaptation and the potential recarbonization of soils. This is very well defined, but since we have also this strong focus on plastics, this could be an entry point. No, plastics on pesticides to address as contaminants, and then look into more heavy metals and other types of contaminants. But yes, the World Banana Forum has the interest to work especially on plastics impregnated with pesticides, and then with also other materials and other contaminants of concern.
Well, again, from our point of view, David, and from the INSOP, I think once we receive green light from World Banana Forum and say, please help us, I think we can go ahead and develop tailored modules on that. So, Mateus, we're looking forward to your confirmation on that. Hopefully, it will be positive.
Yes, we have to discuss with our members. We are now looking into together with the Global Soil Partnership to have a pilot, no, on banana. So our idea is to have this pilot, most probably in Colombia, and then from the lessons learned, we can think on how to expand that.
Yeah, well, in the meantime, while you're discussing and agreeing on that, I think we can already start proceeding developing and, well, not developing, but reviewing what is soil pollution module. Because again, having aromatic hydrocarbons to talk about that with farmers, it's not a good approach, I guess. David, what do you think?
Yes. So this would be a phased approach. We can, forgive the pun, but go for the low-hanging fruit first, such as what is soil pollution, and I hope we can work together as a team to produce some good material, and then we can go on to more specific contexts such as the banana farm. So just perhaps you would like to mention the cocoa project and the pollutants involved in that.
That's right. So, well, we've been running, and you've heard probably for those who participate in the annual meeting this June, we've heard about this phase 1 preliminary investigation of what contaminants are present in the cocoa, and focus was cadmium, right? And we've done the preliminary investigation to understand the sources of cadmium, where they're coming from, and as well as develop the conceptual site model. So that phase 1 is already completed. Now we would like to go, and in that phase 1 also, what we've done, we've concluded with 12 recommendations, what can be done to mitigate or prevent, if it's possible, the cadmium uptake to plants. And obviously liming and biochar were 2 of them, but there's also still more. In phase 2 of the project, we would like to test our hypothesis and recommendations, applying liming, applying biochar in those countries, in South America specifically. That can be Ecuador, Colombia, Brazil, where cacao is actually present, and farmers would like to increase the export of cacao to European Union and other countries. So that will be launched next year, and obviously that's where Soil Doctors program can be integrated, where we can work with farmers and test our recommendations and talk to them not only about how to prevent, but the danger of having high levels of cadmium in your crops and in soil. Again, coming back to activity number 1, raising awareness about linking soil pollution to the One Health approach. So we have a lot of things to do next year, and I think that's a very good start and where we can do. Also, Mateus, I had one question from your presentation. What was that? Yeah, we're very interested in black sigatoka disease. Never heard of this. It was very interesting to learn about this. But also the use of pesticides, bifenthrin and cyclophromethine. That's also quite interesting. And yeah, you said that plastic and insecticides, they're found together, right, in banana. Did the project itself, did they focus on testing the level of those contaminants in the actual crop? And if so, what was the maximum level? Maybe you're familiar on that?
Thank you, Sergio. It's a very good question. I'm not very familiar on that. I mean, we work with the MRLs, no? So these plastics impregnated with pesticides almost always are under the thresholds of the MRLs for Europe and for the US. So the idea in our approach is to support farmers to be below the threshold of MRLs, but we are not really looking into how these are being transferred to the fruit, but would be very interesting to look into. Our idea, the way we work, is to operate for them to use less toxic, let's say these insecticides or these plastic bags impregnated with less harmful products, no? To reduce risks and reduce also environmental issues.
And last question, you said alternatives, like instead of plastic, use paper bags. How affordable they are, like the paper bags in terms of the plastic? Because when you talk to farmers, it's all about affordability.
This is also a very good question, and also I think relates with one of the comments that were made, that not all solutions work for all contexts. No, we have some producers that have implemented the plastic bags with a lot of success. Sorry, and in other regions, due to the wind conditions, rains, etc., was not feasible. No, so We are discussing with one of our members that actually made a study regarding the costs associated, and he has already some figures on how this would increase the production cost. So we also work in the World Banana Forum, in the other working group, there is distribution of value, to also look into these aspects, how these costs of a more sustainable production could be transferred to across the value chain to not only impact producers. Because we also look into this, that sometimes a lot of environmental demands and new regulations are only posed on the back, let's say, of the producers. So they have an increase in cost of production, but a decrease in the price of the fruit. So we are also looking to that, and this requires a lot of awareness and the part that we used to call shared responsibility along the supply chain. But there are some figures, and this farm that I mentioned is called Dominic Farms. They also have interesting videos in YouTube for those that are interested to see. They have this calculated, at least for their context, and there was an increase in costs, in the cost of the final box of banana. So this is important to take into consideration.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much for this informative answer. Paul?
I'm going to put my risk assessment hat on just for a second and go back to the MRLs that have just been talked about. The MRLs are what happens once the chemical gets into the human body, but the ability of the body to take up a contaminant depends on a lot of things that will vary with climate, soil type, diet, and so on. So I think it's important to make sure that we don't simply export European or North American regulatory values like the MRLs to other parts of the world, because they may be either too dangerous or not or too protective. The science is the same, but the context is very different physically, and the societal factors also need to be taken into account before saying that is a dangerous practice, or that is a dangerous soil, and that is an okay soil. The solution has to be a local one, not a transported and exported one.
Thank you very much, Paul. Yes, your comments are always valuable indeed. Yeah, thank you. We do agree with that. Well, it's 3 minutes left. I think we need to wrap up, David. I think it was quite successful and rich discussion, isn't it? Let's give the last floor to our INSOP Vice Chair before we disappear for a very good Christmas break that we're all looking forward. And just a quick announcement that we're going to resume our remediation working group, which unfortunately has to be cancelled. So we're going to do that on January 17th. The announcement will follow that for that shortly. So you're all invited to do it, to participate. Okay, Dave, closing remarks, please.
Thank you, Serge. It's great to meet you all here. We received several very informative presentations today. Kenya give us a high-level introduction of the food system and the food safety division, and it appears that there are a lot of information that we can probably use for our network. For example, we were told that the cadmium exposure threshold was recently updated, and I think we are also probably interested in other heavy metals like arsenic, whether the other heavy metals are also updated more recently. And we were also told about the PAEs and other soil contaminants that may end up in food products. I think, for our network, all these traditional and emerging contaminants are all for huge concern. And this working group ultimately needed to address the link between soil pollution and food quality. One challenge for us is that the level of food pollution and the level of soil pollution and the level of food pollution is not linear. A lot of existing studies have shown, I mean, many other factors are affecting the relationship. So there could be areas where the soil pollutants have a high concentration, but the food contains low levels of contaminants, and vice versa. So for our network, on the one hand, we need to take the information from the regulatory bodies about the food quality standard, and we need to then look at our soil quality and the soil pollution issue and see how we can help to improve food quality from soil pollution prevention and remediation perspective. Janet, Matthews talked about the World Banana Forum and the plastic pollution and pesticide pollutions were raised as the main issues. I think that's a very good case. I mean, for our network, we could, I mean, in the future, we could look at a broader range of food production systems, and we can probably assist the banana network and as well as other networks to help improve their measures in tackling soil pollution as well as the food quality issue. And we are very happy to hear from Janet and Karen about the soil doctors program. And we can see from the chat box that, I mean, many participants are extremely interested in this program, and a lot of the attendees expressed interest to join. And I think from this we can see that our network and the soil doctors program have a lot of synergy. And my hope is that the soil doctors program can use this enthusiasm in our network and also use the expertise on soil pollution in this network to develop new training materials, new programs to help the global farming community to improve our practice. This is our first meeting. I'm sure that we will have more follow-up meetings, and I hope that many of the participants can join the working group to join the efforts that we collaborate with the other networks to engage with the various activities that we are planning for. And I think with that, I mean, we are having a very successful meeting tonight, and thank you all very much again for attending this meeting.
Thank you very much, Dave, for this wonderful words. Thank you very much. Yes, thanks a lot to all presenters today who made this discussion and the meeting very successful, I think. The next steps is that we're gonna send you the summary and the presentations and recording of these meetings before Christmas time, where we will highly encourage you to reply to the email and say to us whether you will be interested. We're gonna ask that question. Will you be interested in joining us, helping develop and formulate modules on soil pollution that can be addressed within Soil Doctors program and delivered to farmer communities all around the world. That's it from me. Ravi, I see you're still awake in Australia, although it's quite late for you. Thank you very much for being with us. I would like to thank a lot for my moderator, David O'Connor, who helped me a lot this afternoon. David, thank you. And well, if I won't see you this year, I wish you a very good Christmas time and a happy New Year, and see you next year. Thank you very much.
Just something, one thing from me, Sarges. I just, as the chair of the of INSOP, I also want to express my appreciation to all those who are present today and also in past meetings. Just listening to the presentations today, I just wonder whether all those who have participated today, whether they could send us a note on MRLs for the food products and also crops, vegetables that they have, because for metals we do have it, but some of the other things, for instance, that we discussed, I'm not certain whether we have those So it'd be really good to see whether we can have a database on that. Final one is that you mentioned about cadmium in cocoa beans. And of course, chocolate would have cadmium, but the key question that I have is, do you think there should be a policy on the cadmium content of chocolates? Whether we should look into that. At the end of the day, it all depends on whether we exceed the total daily intake. And those people who love chocolate, they might, for example, dark chocolate might have a lot more cadmium content than white chocolate. So something to think about as well. Also want to take this opportunity to wish everybody a happy festive season and happy New Year and safe and healthy New Year as well. I see that we have lots of comments in the chat box. Sajesh, do you think we could also get a copy of the chat box messages that we have there?
Yes. Yes, they will be saved and I will distribute to the steering committee. Yes.
Thanks so much for that.
Thank you, Robbie. Thank you, everyone. And I wish you a very good continuation of the day and good evening. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Happy Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you
Merry
all.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, everybody. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas
Goodbye.
all.